when I woke up, I was struggling to breathe. I was gasping. It's very, very scary not being able to breathe. It's akin to trying to breathe through a straw. You just can't get enough air in.
At 4 a.m. on the 25th of November last year, Peter Jones knew he needed urgent medical help. And he wasn't the only one. That night, 90 people arrived at the emergency department of the Alfred Hospital in Melbourne with severe respiratory problems.
It was actually quite a lot of mayhem in the hospital when we got there. There was a lot of people there.
Peter and the other patients were caught up in an epidemic of thunderstorm asthma, a rare phenomenon that's caused by a perfect storm of weather conditions and airborne allergens. As you'll see, it's an explosive mix. Cenk Suphioglu identified the role ryegrass plays in Melbourne's thunderstorm asthma epidemics. So that's the culprit?
Yes, this is the culprit. This is ryegrass. That actually, you can see the anther popped out to release the pollen. So on days like this, during hay fever season, they actually pop out and they release the pollen, which gets picked up by winds and taken for long distances.
In fact, during a thunderstorm, half a tonne of pollen per hectare can take flight. But while it may inflict hay fever in urban areas, something else is needed to trigger thunderstorm asthma.
Pollen itself, even though we don't see it with the naked eye, is too large to penetrate the lower airways. So it actually gets trapped at the epiglottis, or about here. So for something to penetrate the lower airways to cause asthma, you need smaller micronic particles, less than 5 microns in diameter.
So what are these smaller particles? And how are they released into the air? Cenk's team answered that by studying what happened when ryegrass pollen was exposed to the moisture in thunderstorms.
After it's been in contact with water, you can see that it's actually ruptured.
Gee, it really does look like it's exploded out of that weak point.
It is under pressure, and the rupture will actually release these contents like a projectile. So it will actually allow it to get airborne.
This osmotic shock causes the pollen grain to release about 700 starch granules. Each one is coated with and contains major allergens, and they're small enough to penetrate deep into our lungs.
On a day which had no record of rainfall in the previous 24 hours, we had approximately 1,000 starch granules per cubic metre of air sampled. But as soon as we had rainfall, that actually, that's just went to more than 54,000. So that's actually about more than 50-fold increase.
The phenomenon has been recorded in Australia and overseas, but Melbourne has the dubious honour of being known as the thunderstorm asthma capital of the world, with 3 recorded epidemics since 1987.
Melbourne is particularly a hotspot for this because when these pollens are being released, are picked up by northerly winds, and all of the growth is in the northern parts of Victoria, and the northerly winds pick them up and then bring them into the metropolitan area where most of us are, and then you've got the perfect model system for thunderstorm-induced asthma.
So thunderstorm asthma is an allergic reaction to grass pollen, and you don't have to be asthmatic to get it. In fact, seasonal hay fever sufferers like Peter are most at risk.
I think because it's the first time I've had an asthma attack, I am now aware of asthma more than I was before. I certainly didn't take it seriously, but it's you need to take it very, very seriously.